My sister stood up mid-dinner like she was making a toast. Turkey on plates. Laughter in the background. My mom's good china. Then she said, smiling, "Mom and Dad are signing the house to me. You get nothing." I laughed once out of shock, waiting for someone to correct her. My father kept carving. My mother didn't look up. And in that quiet, I realized this wasn't an announcement. It was a reminder. They'd already decided who mattered, and who would stay useful without asking questions. Thanksgiving at my parents' house is one of those traditions that looks warm from the outside and feels tense the moment you step through the door. My mom always overcooks. My dad always turns the game on too loud. My sister always arrives like she's late to something more important, even when she's early. Everyone pretends the old resentments aren't sitting at the table with us. This year I came alone. No partner, no kids, just a pie I bought on the way because I didn't have the energy to bake and perform at the same time. I walked in, said hi, handed the pie to my mom. She said, "Oh, thanks," the way people thank a coworker, and turned back to my sister. My sister was already in the kitchen, tasting gravy and correcting my mom's seasoning like she owned the place. She had that confident, glowing look she gets when she thinks she's winning at life. New coat, new nails, new stories about her busy schedule. My dad hugged her longer than he hugged me. It shouldn't have bothered me. I'm an adult. I have my own life. But it still hit that soft part of me that keeps hoping for equal treatment, even after years of proof. We sat down. Food passed around. Small talk started. My dad asked about my job without really listening to the answer. My mom asked if I was eating enough. The conversation floated around me like I was furniture. Then my sister started doing that thing she does where she tells stories that make her look generous. "Mom and Dad," she said, "I've been telling you. It's better to handle things now while you're still healthy." My mom nodded. My dad grunted, mouth full. I didn't know what things meant, but my stomach tightened anyway. The way they were all looking at each other felt planned. Like I walked into the middle of a conversation that started hours ago. My sister turned to me with a polite smile. "So we're doing the house paperwork," she said. "Mom and Dad are signing it to me. It's just easier that way." I blinked. "What?" She didn't repeat herself because she didn't need to. She was watching my face like she wanted to see how much it would hurt. "You're doing fine," she added quickly, like that made it fair. "You don't need it." I looked at my parents. Waiting. Hoping. Anything. My mother kept her eyes on her plate, rearranging peas like she was trying to avoid a landmine. My father kept carving turkey, steady hands, no expression. I asked calmly, "Did you already decide this?" My dad said, "It's practical." That was all. One word to close the door. I felt heat crawl up my neck. Not rage. Something worse. That embarrassed feeling of realizing you were never part of the conversation. I wanted to say, "I've helped you both. I've driven you to appointments. I've paid for things when you were short. I've shown up when she didn't." But I didn't. Because arguing in that moment would make me look exactly like the role they'd assigned me. The difficult one, the emotional one, the one who needs to accept reality. So I swallowed it. I nodded like I understood. And I let them keep talking about paperwork as if they were discussing landscaping. My sister poured herself more wine and kept smiling. My mom finally looked up and said softly, "It's not personal." That line did something to me. Because if it wasn't personal, what was it? A business decision? A math problem? A convenience? I sat through the rest of dinner on autopilot. I laughed at the right times. I helped clear dishes. I even hugged everyone goodbye. When I got to my car, my hands were shaking, but my face was calm. On the drive home, one thought kept repeating, quiet and steady. They think I'll accept this because I always have. And for the first time, I didn't feel like proving them wrong with words. I felt like proving it with silence. I didn't confront anyone after Thanksgiving. That surprised even me. I went home, put the leftover pie in my fridge, and sat on the couch in the dark for a long time. I kept replaying my sister's voice in my head. Not the words, but the confidence behind them. The certainty that she could say something like that out loud and nothing would happen. What hurt most wasn't the house. It was how normal it all felt to them. The next few days were quiet. No one checked on me. No follow-up texts. No, "We should talk." That silence answered questions I hadn't even asked yet. So I matched it. I stopped calling my parents every few days like I usually did. I didn't offer to stop by. I didn't remind my dad about his prescriptions or my mom about her paperwork deadlines. I told myself it was just space, not punishment. But space changes things. A week later, my mom texted asking if I could help her log into her email. I replied a few hours later instead of immediately. Told her I was busy and sent short instructions instead of going over. My dad called about a bill he didn't understand. I suggested he call the number on the statement. He sounded annoyed but said okay. My sister didn't reach out at all. I started noticing things I'd ignored before. How often I was the one filling gaps. How many problems had quietly landed on my plate simply because I didn't push back. I had never been thanked for it, but I had been expected to continue. At night, I lay awake thinking about the house. Not in a jealous way. In a practical way. I knew the roof needed work. I knew the property taxes were about to be reassessed. I knew my sister had never dealt with maintenance, insurance, or anything long-term. She liked visible wins, not ongoing responsibility. That knowledge sat in my chest like a secret I hadn't meant to collect. December came and went. Christmas was awkward. Smaller. My sister hosted and acted like nothing had happened. I showed up, brought a gift, left early. No one mentioned the house, but it hovered over everything. Then in January my dad called late one evening. He sounded tired. He asked if I knew anything about a notice they'd received from the city. Something about inspections and compliance. I told him honestly that I'd seen similar letters before. That they weren't urgent, but they weren't nothing either. He sighed and said, "We thought your sister was handling all that." That was the first crack. I didn't jump in. I didn't offer to fix it. I just said, "She owns it now. It's her call." There was a pause on the line. A long one. "Right," he said finally. After I hung up, I felt something strange. Not satisfaction. Not guilt. Relief. For the first time, I wasn't absorbing the consequences of a decision I didn't get to make. And somewhere between that phone call and the quiet that followed, I realized this wasn't about revenge yet. It was about letting reality do what it does when no one cushions the fall. By February, the house had stopped being an idea and started being a problem. Not a dramatic one. Not yet. Just the kind of slow creeping problem that shows up as envelopes on the counter and tension in people's voices. My parents didn't call me right away. That was new. They used to loop me in early before things felt heavy. This time they waited until they were already overwhelmed. It started with small comments. My mom mentioned, almost casually, that my sister was very stressed lately. My dad said she'd been short-tempered. Snappy. I listened and said nothing. A few days later my sister finally called me. She didn't ask how I was. She jumped straight into it. "Do you know anything about property reassessments?" I told her I knew the basics. She exhaled sharply. "Well, apparently the taxes are going up. A lot. Mom and Dad didn't realize." I almost laughed at that. Not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. "They signed it to you," I said carefully. "So it's your responsibility now." There was a pause. "I know that," she snapped. "I'm just asking if you can help." That word again. Help. For a second, the old version of me almost said yes. Almost started explaining next steps, contacts, timelines. Instead, I asked a question I'd never asked her before. Why would I be involved? She sounded genuinely confused. "Because you're good at this stuff." There it was. Not because I was family. Not because I was wronged. Because I was useful. I told her I didn't have time right now. That she should talk to a property consultant or a lawyer. She went quiet, then said, "Wow. So you're really going to be like this." Like what? Unavailable? Unpaid? Uninvolved? She hung up before I could answer. That night, guilt tried to creep in. The old guilt. The one that told me being firm made me selfish. I almost texted her back. Then I remembered Thanksgiving. The smile. The certainty. The way my absence from the decision hadn't mattered. So I didn't text. March came with more letters. Inspections. Repair estimates. Insurance questions. The house needed more work than anyone wanted to admit. My parents started calling me more often but carefully now. Testing the waters. My mom asked if I thought it would be fair for my sister to handle all this alone. My dad asked if I thought the paperwork could be revisited. I didn't argue. I didn't accuse. I just told them the truth. You made a choice without me. I respected it. This is what that choice looks like. They didn't like hearing it, but they didn't contradict it either. One afternoon, my dad showed up at my place unannounced. That almost never happened. He looked smaller somehow, tired in a way I hadn't seen before. He said they'd underestimated how complicated things would be, that they hadn't meant to hurt me, that they assumed I'd understand. I asked him something I'd been holding on to for months. Did you ever wonder why I was so quiet at dinner? He frowned. We thought you were upset. No, I said. I was done explaining myself. That landed heavier than anger would have. He asked if I wanted them to change things. Reverse the paperwork. Split the house. Make it fair. That surprised me. I thought about it longer than he expected. Then I realized something that shocked even me. I didn't want the house anymore. Not because I didn't deserve it, but because accepting it now would mean stepping back into the same pattern. Fixing something after the damage was already done. I told him that. He didn't argue. He just nodded slowly, like something was finally clicking. After he left, I sat alone and felt a strange calm. The consequences were unfolding exactly as they should. Not fast. Not cruel. Just honest. My sister had wanted the reward without the weight. My parents had wanted peace without discomfort. And I had wanted something simpler than all of it. To stop being the quiet safety net. By April, the house was officially hers in every way that mattered. And so were the problems. I wasn't watching from a distance anymore. I was living my own life again. And for the first time that felt like enough. By the time summer came, the house was no longer a topic anyone brought up casually. It had turned into something heavier. A responsibility with edges. My sister stopped mentioning it entirely, which told me more than any complaint ever could. The confidence she'd had at Thanksgiving was gone, replaced by something quieter. Defensive. My parents changed too. They stopped framing things as advice. They stopped assuming I would step in. When they called now, it was careful, almost respectful, like they were speaking to someone who had finally drawn a line they couldn't cross. One evening, my mother invited me over for tea. Just her. No agenda, she said. We sat in the same kitchen where my sister had made her announcement months earlier. The memory hovered there unspoken. My mom told me she regretted how everything had happened. Not in a dramatic way. Just tired honesty. We thought keeping things simple would keep the peace, she said. We didn't realize what it would cost. I nodded. That was as close to an apology as she could manage. She asked if I was angry. I thought about it. About the long nights. The slow detachment. The guilt that had tried and failed to pull me back. No, I said. I'm clear. That surprised her. She asked if I wanted things to change. If I wanted to be more involved again. I told her the truth. I want a relationship that doesn't depend on me fixing things. She didn't argue. My sister never apologized. She didn't need to. The consequences spoke for her. The house became a lesson she couldn't return. My parents learned that fairness can't be decided in private and announced later. And I learned something I hadn't expected. Walking away wasn't abandonment. It was self-respect. I still show up. I still care. But I no longer carry weight that isn't mine. That Thanksgiving didn't take something from me. It gave me permission to stop proving my value to people who only noticed it when it was gone. And that quietly changed everything.